During the E3 2018 unveil for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, they announced that certain fighters would have special displays near their percentage for their special skills, like Cloud with his limit meter.
Now you can see his limit gauge near his damage percentage at all times. Special displays are available for certain other fighters too.
In the final game, we ended up getting 7 characters with special displays, not counting any potential DLC characters. While these are nice, I feel that there are some characters I think should have or could have also gotten special displays, and I wanted to talk about those and make mockups of what these would indicate and look like. First off, I gotta explain some stuff. Every character that has a special display has the look of it based on the UI of their games. Villager in Isabel's pocket looks like the inventory menu from Animal Crossing. Little Mac's KO meter looks exactly like the one from Super Punch-Out for the SNES. Robin's Tome and Levin Sword meters look like the health bars from Fire Emblem Awakening. Shulk's meter showing how much time his current art has left looks like the experience bar from Xenoblade Chronicles. Cloud's limit meter looks like the battle UI from Final Fantasy VII. And Inkling's ink tank looks basically exactly like how it did in Splatoon 1. That means that for every character we're gonna make a special display for today, we have to design it to look fitting and like something from their games. I'll also have to make it simple to understand from a quick glance, so that you would be able to quickly look at it in the heat of a thrilling battle and know exactly what you have to know. Now without further ado, let's start with a little guy from one of my favorite series, Olimar. Currently there's a little arrow above the head of whatever Pikmin he's gonna use for his next attack that utilizes Pikmin. However, it can be hard to see this arrow in a fast-paced battle, and Olimar has the same arrow above his head, adding to the confusion. And also, sometimes the Pikmin are too far away from him and he won't use any for his next attack at all. So that's why I came up with a Pikmin indicator, showing whatever Pikmin he's going to use next, and which ones he's currently got on standby. The bubbles show what order of Pikmin he's going to use for his next attacks, and they become transparent when he's currently not in range to use a Pikmin. Maybe the icons could update depending on whether the Pikmin have a leaf, bulb, or flower on their head, but that could get a little confusing. Next up, a character you might not expect, or rather, 2 characters, the Ice Climbers. I always found it kinda strange that there's no way to tell how much damage the second Ice Climber has taken, since they do both individually take damage. I was really struggling with a way to make it look like something from the classic NES game, but then I realized that the damage percentage is really something original from Smash Bros, and it would look weird if it was made out of like the same font from Ice Climbers or something. So I decided to make it look just like Popo's damage percentage. I made it a bit smaller than the main Ice Climber's percentage, so you won't get confused as to whose damage you're looking at with a quick glance. Alright, this one is very small and it is technically already somewhat in the game, but it's practically invisible. r.o.b now has a chassis on his side showing how much fuel he has left for his up special.
r.o.b has a new gauge on his chassis, showing how much fuel he has left for hovering.
You can barely see it in game though because it's so small, and because r.o.b moves around a lot of course. r.o.b doesn't really have a game to pull any inspiration from. He was an accessory used for 2 games on the NES, Gyromite and Stack Up, which both don't give me a lot to work with, and there's nothing related to fuel in those games. So I just gave it the same robotic look as it does on r.o.b.'s body, with a little droplet of oil to indicate fuel. It would function the exact same as the one on his body, going from blue to yellow to red and then flashing red when it's refilling. Now you might bring up Villager and Isabel, since they have a very similar mechanic to their up special, but they can't act out of it like r.o.b can, and they have that mechanic only really for balancing reasons. Now for a very simple one that I don't really understand a reason for to not actually be in the game, Rosalina and Luma, or specifically Luma. In Smash, Luma has a specific amount of health, but you can't see it, and when he dies either by losing all of his health or falling to the bottom blast zone, it takes about 9 seconds for a new one to spawn. So I decided to give him his own little meter. The bar gets shorter when Luma takes damage, and when it's depleted all the way, it means he's run out of HP, and he dies. Then it slowly starts ticking back up again, and when it's completely filled out, a new one spawns in, and the icon changes to the color of Luma it ended up being. This time I really couldn't think of anything from either Mario Galaxy 1 or 2 to base it off of, so I decided to use a small galaxy theme. Alright, now we're going from a simple one to by far the biggest and most complicated one, Wario. Wario has 2 invisible timers you have to keep track of, his waft charge and his bike when he loses it, since it takes about 6 seconds in Smash Ultimate for it to be used again when it gets destroyed or falls off screen. Wario actually does have an in-game indicator showing how much his waft is charged, that being that his stomach swells up over time. You might not have even known about this, and that's because it's way less visible than even r.o.b.'s fuel gauge. Actually, while I was writing this video, I stumbled across this tweet made by Ryan, showing how Wario's special display would potentially look like, so this is where we're gonna pull some inspiration from. Wario would have a little garlic icon that fills up over time, showing how much his waft is charged up, turning slightly brighter with a little spark when he has a half the waft charged, and turning even brighter and radiating when his waft is fully charged. Now for the bike indicator. Ryan came up with just an icon of a bike with a cross over it. This will be very simple to understand, but it doesn't take any inspiration from Wario's games, so I think we can do a little better. What I came up with is using the classic time bomb from the WarioWare games. When the bike is unavailable, it would pop up and start ticking down. After 6 seconds, it would reach the bomb, explode, and then disappear. And at that moment, you would be able to use your bike again. I understand that this would of course be very cluttered and a long display, but I think it's okay since the bomb won't always be there. Alright, that Wario bit was a lot to take in. So let's talk about a very simple one next. Mr. Game & Watch. As we all know, Mr. Game & Watch can absorb energy-based projectiles in his bucket and fill it up all the way to unleash a powerful oil spill attack. He needs to fill up 3 units of his bucket to be able to use the attack, but the problem is that different moves fill it up a different amount, and the strength of the oil spill differs depending on what filled it up. This one is super simple, since Mr. Game & Watch comes from Nintendo's old Game & Watch series of handhelds, which are devices that don't have a screen, but instead used black drawing-like objects that would light up to give the illusion of movement. So I decided to give his special display the same look and feel we all know and love. You can see the faint shapes at all times, but they would light up to show how many units of his bucket are filled up. There's also a number to the top right of the bucket. This would show the power of the oil spill when Game & Watch is able to use it, with 1 being super weak, think like 3 Fox lasers, and 9 being basically a one-hit KO, think a PK Flash. Next up, Mr. the Blue Blur himself, Lucario. His main mechanic is obviously his aura, powering him up the more damage he has taken, but there's no way of telling exactly what his current level of aura is, except for looking at how big his neutral special is, which you have to charge up first, how big the flames on his hands are, and by looking at his actual percentage, which can be reliable, but most people don't know how strong he is exactly at what percentages. So I thought to make an indicator and base it off the level system found in Pokemon, since the higher level your Pokemon is, the stronger they are. I have no idea what the exact scaling of his aura is, but I know it maxed out at 190%, so just for the sake of this video we're gonna pretend it works kinda like this. At 0% it would say Lucario is level 1, at 95 he would be level 50, and at 190% he would be level 100. It would tick up a bit every time he gets hit and thus takes damage. Lucario's level of aura is also affected by how many stocks or points he is behind in the match, so this display would also account for that, making him level 100 earlier if he's behind in KOs. What's interesting about this is that if this would be in the game, and Lucario healed himself, it would be, to my knowledge at least, the first time a Pokemon is actually able to level down. Now last, but definitely not the least, the Mii Fighters. With every character in Smash, I can look at them and know exactly what moves they have. For example, I know Luigi has his Misfire, I know Pac-Man can drop a Hydrant, I know Sonic can dash forward in a ball twice, I know Wii Fit Trainer can shoot the sun. I can't do that with the Miis because of their custom special moves. I think this is the main reason there's such a debate on whether they should be legal or not, because you don't know what moves they have and can't really make a plan on fighting them because of that. So here's what I come up with. All of their special moves would have their little own icon and they would be displayed above their percentages during the battle. For instance, the Sword Fighter's 3 different neutral specials are shooting a tornado, shooting a shuriken of light, or stabbing repeatedly with a flaming sword. So the icon for his neutral specials could be either a little tornado, a little shuriken, or a flaming blade. And then if you had a Mii Sword Fighter with, for example, this loadout, the icons could look something like this. Just something to show what moves the Mii Fighter has when fighting them. This would make them the only characters that have a special display that's static and doesn't change mid-battle, but it can change in between fights, so I think that makes up for it. It personally bums me out so much that there's such a split in the competitive community when it comes to the legality of the Mii Fighters, and I think this would fix that problem. So if I could choose one special display that I talked about today to be added to the game, I'd make it this one, because it would just add 3 characters to the game no matter where you are playing. Since Miis are considered Smash Bros. Original characters, having the Smash logo as their series icon and a Smash themed victory screen and all, I didn't really have to worry about modeling their special display after anything, but I decided to make them look kind of like the icons from the original Mii Maker channel on the Nintendo Wii. And the icons would of course also show up when selecting a Mii fighter. Wow, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. I personally love me some good UI, so it was fun to make some for this video. Be sure to tell me what special display I talked about today was your favorite, or if you have any good ideas for new ones of your own. With that, this video is done, and as always, take it easy, take a rest.